Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the GuitarGuts podcast with me, Mark Murray. My guest today is a really cool one. It's Charles Caswell, the guitarist and writer of the music of Berried Alive. It's a crazy, I don't know what you'd call it, technical metal, almost death metal-y, crazy, genty, progressive, awesome music. So if you've never seen it, you got to go on its Instagram. He's at Berried Alive Official and also at Charles Caswell. So he's got both of them, a personal page and his other page. And also it's, I believe, his wife, Kaylee, who plays in the band with them. She plays the bass, and they're absolute shredders. So go watch their videos. You'll trip out. Awesome clothing line, all kinds of stuff. So, hey guys, before we get into the episode, I wanted to let you know that the Halloween album that I did with all my friends is out now. It's streaming all over the place under the band name The California Werewolves. Put it on your Halloween playlist, play it all month at work, tell your friends about it, play it at your Halloween parties, bookmark it for next year. We did metal versions of This Is Halloween, Dragula, The Misfits, the Ghostbusters theme song, Dead Man's Party, Somebody's Watching Me, Thriller, and more. It came out really awesome. I'm really proud of it, and if you want a physical CD, I'm only doing burned copies, but they're going to be available on my website for $5 or DM me on Instagram, and I'll set you up with my PayPal information. It's streaming everywhere now. Amazon Prime, Apple Music, iTunes, Deezer, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Google Play, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora, Napster. I mean, it's everywhere. So wherever you get your music, go check it out now under the California Werewolves, or check it out under my page on any of those under Mark Murray, and you'll find it there too. Stay tuned at the end of the podcast, and I'm going to play another track off it. This Is Halloween by the Citizens of Halloween, a.k.a. Danny Elfman, one of the theme songs from The Nightmare Before Christmas. I want to give a quick shout out before we get into the podcast also to my friends at Iron Age Accessories. I'm rocking the t-shirt right now. They're a sponsor of both me and my guest Charles. We both have been working with them using their kill switches. Alex over at Iron Age recently made me this pick. Check this out. It's made out of what looks like dragon's scales. It is so dope. It's got the skull logo, the GG skull logo. It says GuitarGuts under it. It's kind of hard to see with this camera, but they're badass. They play so good. I love them. So I'm going to have those on the website soon. You can get some. GuitarGuts.com, of course, to get those. Check out Iron Age Accessories, though, because those guys are awesome. They've just been too good to me almost. If you're going to get a kill switch, enter GG-10 at checkout, and you'll get 10% off, too. All right, let's get into the episode with Charles. This is actually audio only on this podcast. I'm going to be looking up things that he's talking about as we're talking about him. So there will be a slideshow of things, that photos to look at, and we talk about some of his guitars and his merch and things like that. So I'll put pictures of that stuff up. But and then, of course, my stupid face. I'll be here. This is so weird. That's why I had to throw the pictures up, because I don't want it to just be me. I want him to do video. I tried to get him to do it, but he didn't want to do it, so I'm not going to press him. He's an interesting guy, and I wanted to talk to him, so I figured this is better than nothing. So let's get into the podcast. He's calling right now. Hey, what's up, Charles?
Hey, dude. How you doing?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good.
You hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Okay,
good. You sound good over there. Nice and clear, too.
Sweet.
All right, man. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for doing this. I've been a fan of your music for a couple years, maybe a year or so. Someone showed me it, and I was like, oh, my God, what the hell is this? It's incredible. It's so insane.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Thank you. That's really nice of you to say.
Yeah. Your style is like, what would you call it? Is it death metal? Is it gent, prog metal? Do you have a classification?
Honestly, dude, I just kind of make the music that I want to make, and then I see who identifies with it, and then I try to share my music with those people, I guess. I don't know. I don't really have a goal in mind as far as genre goes, so I just kind of see where it lands.
Do you write everything yourself?
Yeah, for the most part.
Because I've seen, I believe it's your wife, it's Kaylee, right?
Yep, my wife plays bass. She's been playing bass for about 2 years now, but I do all the writing, all the production, and the vocals.
Yeah, that's kind of, so you're like the mastermind behind it all.
Yeah, for the music, for sure. She's been a huge help as far as like advertising goes, and of course, getting opinions. Making sure I'm making the right judgment calls on stuff. So she's had been super supportive this whole time as well. But yep, essentially, all the music and stuff is me.
How long have you been doing Buried Alive, and were you in other bands before that?
I've been doing Buried Alive. It's been like a thing since 2009, 2010 or so, but I haven't been going super hard with it until 2015 or like late 2014. And I've been in just a bunch of other bands before that, like local bands and, just figuring it out basically, seeing what being in the metal scene is like and being in the music scene in general is like.
Were your other bands that you were in before technical and crazy like this, or was this like how you evolved and just kind of went your own way?
They've always been technical for sure, because I've always been a big part of the writing process and, well, a big part of the process in general for all my previous bands. So it's always had kind of very busy guitar work, and I feel like my writing's matured, so it's a little more tasteful. But then again, Buried Alive is kind of over the top, anyways. So I guess tasteful as far as I go, I guess.
Do you have like a standard way that you write a song? Like you sit down with like Guitar Pro or a tabbing program, or do you like jump into the DAW and start recording, or does it change all the time?
Oh, it changes all the time. I'll go from having an idea in my head at a job or at work, or I'll have an idea in a car ride. Sometimes I'll sit down with the intention of writing, and other times I just jam and then come up with something. So it's just about being ready to be able to write something, and also be able to kind of force something decent out of yourself when you want to, I guess. So kind of all of the above. I write on Guitar Pro. I write in Pro Tools. I used to hand tab out songs in like transcription books and stuff. So I would like tab out ideas to make sure I wouldn't forget them. So it's pretty much been everything.
Yeah, it's come together in a very unique way. I can't think of any other bands that sound like you. And I was like thinking, like, what are the first bands that you listened to that were like progressive or crazy that you started moving into like this interesting genre?
After the Burial, for sure. In my home state where I'm from, Minnesota, is where they're from. And I used to kind of watch them since they started. So when I was like 16, I would go to this coffee shop called Java Joint in St. Cloud, Minnesota. And they would play there, and they were like kids at the time too, but they were just playing like such crazy, unique stuff. And it was so progressive. I noticed that they barely repeated parts, and I just thought that was a cool, unique standpoint. Like they didn't feel like things had to repeat. They could just keep adding and keep going with it. So that was a big part of it for me.
Was your name inspired by them at all? Because like Berried and Burial?
Kind of, actually. Kaylee and I named the band together like 10 years ago, and it was based on all these bands that had these like buried names, like the actual band Buried Alive, between the Berried and me, After the Burial, and like how a lot of metal bands take themselves super seriously and have like these brutal names and stuff, but when you meet them, they're like kind of silly, and pretty easygoing people. So it's kind of about like making it a little more lighthearted in a way.
That's cool. So that was all like a thing from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a lot of fun with your song titles. They're all puns and like things based on, berries and fruits and really funny. Yeah, I bet you just have like a list of them ready to go, huh?
Oh yeah. We actually have about 4 EPs in the works right now. So yeah, they're all fruit puns. Some of them are more serious, but for the most part, they're pretty ridiculous, to be honest.
That's cool. I was thinking of some of them, and I wanted to give you a couple of the ones I thought of and see what you thought of them.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Okay, how about Boysenberry, but it's spelled Boyz, and it's a bunch of homies and gangsters?
Oh, nice.
Boys. It's like a hood version.
That's awesome. And you know what? That's perfect because a lot of times a fan will be like, "You guys should totally name a song like this," and I'll be like, "Oh, okay," and then I do.
Oh, really?
Like Slaughtermelon, dude, threw that idea out, so I went with it, and we had a Slaughtermelon T-shirt made, so we had artwork for it, and I sent him one for like just being a part
That
of it.
that's a killer name.
Um, Thanks. Yeah,
Okay.
they did a good
How
job, boys and
how
Berried.
about nice pair, and then it's like a pear, but she's like a sexy chick with a nice pear.
Oh, that's awesome. That's kind of uh, we did a similar thing called Watermelons, and it was like a chick, like a sexy watermelon with big boobs. That's awesome.
Who does your actual artwork?
Well, we have several people that do it. So we have Artworks. It's Attchit. He was kind of the one that got us really going with Fool's Gold because before Fool's Gold came out, we didn't really have a whole lot of merch. The person that drew our logo, his name is Henry Zolkeefly, and he just disappeared like back in 2011. I tried to get a hold of him, but I don't know. He just disappeared. And then I've gone to Mark Cooper, who runs a page called Mind Rape, and he's done artwork for Rings of Saturn and a bunch of other bands. He's incredible. So we have him do artwork very sparingly because he's not super into like cartoony stuff. He's more into the abstract. And then Crossfade Productions they did our website and some artwork for us as well. And then my wife, Kaylee, does some art too. Like she did the Legendary artwork and she did the Fruit Punch. Well, I guess her and I did the Fruit Punch artwork together.
Oh, that's cool.
But
Dang it! Yeah, it's you guys are like marketing masters. Like the name, the puns, the artwork, and all the photos that go with it, and then the crazy music. I mean, it all goes together so well.
thank you. And we were just brainstorming. I was in a band at the time, and I think our vocalist just quit or something. So I'm like, well, I guess we should just start over because it's not like we were making much progress anyways. So we just hung out and came up with that, and I don't know, it put it on the back burner for a few years, and then we just went super hard with it.
Yeah, it's cool. And I was looking at your page, and are you sponsored by Leggett? Is that who it is?
Yep, it's Legator Guitars from
How long have you been working with them?
2012.
And how did you first get involved with them?
The manager, our manager at the time for the last band I was in, hooked us up with them because they're like a brand new company and they were looking for artists. So we had some hype at the time, and yeah, we started a relationship then.
It just grew from there, huh?
Yeah, it grew from there. And then when I went on my own, I thought I was going to lose my endorsement because I was basically starting from the bottom again. Well, somewhat from the bottom with Buried Alive, but eventually it grew, and I have a signature guitar with them now, and we're currently working on another version of this signature guitar that's going to be this really cool like purple and green burst with a floating tremolo on it and a sustainer and a kill switch.
Is that the one that you just posted the burl body recently?
Yep. Yes, it is.
Okay, that thing's insane. That wood, and also it's. So is it gonna be a 7-string?
Yep.
Oh, beautiful. And do you prefer a floating bridge?
I do prefer a floating bridge. It's just more options.
Which style do you prefer?
I like the original Floyd Rose.
Ah, cool. That's my favorite too. I want to try those. What Kiesel's doing? Those. I forget what brand it is, but those ones look interesting too. I think they're springless.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
As,
So.
as long as they still dive and flutter and make all the obnoxious sounds, I'm all in.
So you mentioned a kill switch. We're both friends with Alex over at Iron Age, who's like the best.
Yes, he told.
When did you first meet him?
Well, Soul Sucker was in the process of coming out, and I needed a kill switch, and I think my friend Angus recommended them to me, so I ordered a couple, and I really had no idea what I was doing, but they turned out really cool. And he was really personal with me, and he probably is with all his customers. He's, I don't know, just awesome at customer support and customer service. So it just started developing a relationship then. And he wanted to use like some of my photos I took to help promote Iron Age. And I don't know, it's just been a really good mutual relationship. I think it's just kind of grew from there to the point where we had signature guitar picks, and we just did signature kill switches. That we're going to be running a really limited batch of those this Friday too. There's like, he found like there's like 12 more or something out of the 72 that we ran. But
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
yeah, so that's cool. I had no idea what we were going to do, because we were going to send some to Leggett as well, since they're running that signature guitar. But I'm not sure if they're going to use it or if they're going to go with Tessie, because I think they have a relationship with Tessie kill switches as well.
Before you used the Iron Age kill switches and you ordered them, did you have other kill switches before that?
No, I really wanted to, and I wrote kill switch parts and stuff, and I had all these ideas, but I didn't know, like, I don't know how to solder, and I didn't have a friend that I could trust to put a kill switch in my guitar without like just totally disappearing on me. So I was
Wow.
at the point where I was like, screw it, it's like do or die, and if I mess up my guitar, I mess up my guitar, but a kill switch is going in this thing. And I brought my guitar. My wife and I went to Home Depot, and I explained the situation, and the dude drilled a hole for me so I could pop the kill switch right in. And I just watched a bunch of videos on YouTube on how to solder it, and I like figured it out, I guess, for the most part. It was a lot easier than I thought it would be, but then I was super stoked.
If it's non-LED, I think it's just two wires pretty much. You just wire them up and good to go.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I thought it was like rocket science, so I was totally intimidated, but it's just not. It's so easy.
Yeah, I recommend it if anybody's looking for a first mod to do. The only thing that's a little tricky is drilling the hole out, because you got to go with a pretty big hole on your guitar. You can't just take out a knob and throw it in there.
Yeah, you gotta bore it out a little bit. And the thing that sucks about that is you might crack your finish. So what he did, he drilled a slightly bigger hole, and then he gave me a file, and I'd had to like manually kind of file it little by little until it popped right in snugly.
Was it just from your buddy recommending it, or was there other guitarists that made you want, like Buckethead or Tom Morello or somebody like that made you want a kill switch?
Oh, both. Yeah, Buckethead and Tom Morello. When I saw them growing up, I used to listen to Buckethead a lot, like his jazz albums and stuff that he would release randomly. I was obsessed with those, and I would watch him because I was a huge Primus fan too. So I would watch him like jam live with Primus and stuff. So yeah, seeing him mess with a kill switch was super inspirational, and I wanted to do something with it that I haven't seen quite be done before, because like he has his thing, Tom Morello definitely has his thing. I wanted to do kind of my own thing too, to like contribute.
Buckethead, you kind of, there's something about you that reminds me a little bit of him, because you put out a lot of material, constantly putting out singles and stuff like that, and he's like the king of that. He puts out like an album every other month or something crazy like that, but there's a link there I can see now that we brought it up.
Oh, well, thank you. I'll take that definitely as a compliment. As long as people enjoy it. I don't want to feel like I'm spreading myself thin and I'm just releasing stuff to release stuff. But yeah, I definitely have just so many ideas on the back burner, and I feel like I have so little time. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept, because then it's kind of cool, because then I guess your best of the best ideas probably rise to the top when you have that many ideas,
Well, it's tough because I still haven't released some of my favorite music I've ever written yet, because I keep coming up with ideas that need to like happen before it. It's kind of weird. Like, I'm working on something really different right now, but I have something that I just really love planned for after. I think it's going to be probably middle of next year. So I don't know. It's just like whatever is cohesive with like the big picture, I try to do, even if it's not necessarily my favorite thing. So
You
I guess
know,
it's kind of weird.
I have a similar thing with you. I'm in like a very similar boat here because I wrote a ton of prog music around like I found out about Between the Buried and Me in like 2005, and I started writing all this crazy shit in Guitar Pro, and then my drummer buddy would play it with me. But I recorded it in like 2010 and just shelved it like a full album and then an EP, and then I just kept writing and kept writing. And I was thinking, like, nobody really that I know wants to listen to this. This shit's too fucking weird. No one wants to listen to it. So I kind of just left it on the back burner. But I showed a couple people recently, and they motivated me to release it. So I've been putting my things out on Spotify. And actually tomorrow, which by the time people hear this, it'll have been probably a couple weeks ago. But tomorrow I'm putting out an album of mine that I wrote in 2011. And, like, I still have another one after that. And then another one I'm working on now. So it's like, I know what you mean by, like, you want to get it all out there, but you can't just, like, throw everything up at once. You kind of have to, like, space it a little bit, let it breathe.
Oh, dude, yeah. Congrats on that stuff, by the way. It's such a achievement to release an album. And when I was releasing music, it wasn't about getting attention or anything. It was just like just like finishing something, just like having something done and in your hands feels so rewarding just in and of itself. So that's a huge step.
Yeah, thank you. Do you press your albums into like physical copies that you can keep at your house?
Yep, we do physicals. They're usually limited edition, but yeah, we've got merchandise just everywhere, man. We have a 500 square foot apartment, so it's already pretty cramped. And then we're like crawling over merch. But what I was good. Well, I forget the rest of the question. Oh yeah, with music that you really love, you have to kind of. I feel like with music is very similar to cooking. You want to like slow cook music and just like give it time to develop, and take your mind off of it. Like if you write something you really love, and maybe just totally ignore it for another month or two and come back to it, you might have a whole bunch of ideas to make it even better than like where it currently sits. And that's kind of what I do to my favorites. I let them breathe. Like, if you're familiar, the song, it's from Fool's Gold, but people really seem to like that song. But it's pretty old. It's from like 2014, and it came out in 2017. And then an even older song called "No One Is Listening." I've been writing that for about 10 years now. So yeah, I totally see what you mean, man. It takes time. There's really no rush. The longer you cook, like it's like cooking and the reference I used, like slow cooking something, it ends up having more flavor and it's like tender, you know what I mean? Than just like rushing through, and it still could be good, but I like working on something until I'm out of ideas for it. And then I'm just listening to it to enjoy it instead of to, critique it and to judge it.
Yeah, long term, just molding it until it's perfection.
Yep, exactly. Until you're like out of ideas and you're totally stoked on it. And if you're not stoked on it, just keep working on it.
Yeah, it's so fun, especially if you write with like a program like Guitar Pro or something where you can go listen to it and tweak things and try them without having to like go through a bunch of effort of like recording or laying out, a bunch of drum. You just type in drum parts and they happen.
Oh yeah, exactly, dude. There's something to be said about that. You can sit there and you can write a riff and it's going to be really sick. But if you pop it into Guitar Pro or you even record it and just become hands-free and listen to it and then come up with more ideas, I think that's better, because when you're playing something and trying to write, you're like doing multiple things. And it's really important to keep that focus on the creative side rather than the effort side, where you're just like, kind of sweating through this thing that you just made up, so you're not super fluent at it. So that's where tools like Guitar Pro come in super handy, where you have an idea, you can program it out and see what you think of it. And you can, not only that, but you can test the speeds of it. You can test the key that you're writing it in and everything else. And you don't have to play it, and it saves you a bunch of time.
Yeah, you brought up a good point too about being able to play it back and then try different keys and stuff like that, like that's invaluable. And you know what? When you start getting, when the song is like a couple years old, you're finally smooth with it, like you were saying, and you're not thinking about how to play it anymore. You're kind of loose with it. You can start throwing in extra stuff, and then that's where you're like you kind of bring both sides of it together, I think.
Oh, definitely. There's something you can tell when the guitar player has had a bunch of fun with that riff. You know what I mean? There's like subtleties that it really takes to become like, you have to become intimate with the riffs. And when you do, all these other ideas kind of sink into it that you never thought of before because you were too focused on just trying to perform. And yeah, that totally makes a lot of sense.
I've also told like my friends, and maybe I've talked about it on podcasts before too, but how when with writing with Guitar Pro, you bring in a different element. Usually you write by feel or by hearing, but with Guitar Pro you could write by seeing. You can see arpeggio patterns or drum rolls a different way, and like you actually bring vision into writing music in a weird way.
Oh yeah, definitely. I like to do all of the above. So like if I write a riff on guitar, I'll throw that thing into Guitar Pro, and then maybe I'll add to it, and then I'll play that back on guitar and see what I can do. If there's anything like I can do naturally to it, and then just keep bouncing back and forth. And then I'll pop that into Pro Tools. And I like programming drums on Guitar Pro, but I like using Superior Drummer more just because you can do more things with velocity and ghost notes and stuff. But yeah, man, that's very true. And then what's nice is if you have everything programmed out and you write all your synth in Guitar Pro, you can export it as MIDI. So you can, like all the MIDI stuff that you write, like all your synthesizers and stuff, it's all like done. You don't have to recreate it or something in your DAW.
Yeah, I bought a microKORG a long time ago, and I spent like a year or two learning how to play just to make like basic stuff, and then I realized like, what am I doing? I should totally be sticking to guitar. Why am I wasting my time with this when I could program it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I did that too. I had a MIDI controller, and I was like playing, mini grand parts or like parts in my mini grand plugin, and I was like, what am I doing? Because this stuff, I'm gonna have to like make it perfect anyways, so I might as well just program it in. And it seems to be better. It's more meticulous, but you get the melodies like exactly how you want them that way because you're just listening. You're not performing.
Yeah, for it to sound as good as you play the guitar, it's going to be like you've been playing guitar forever. You have only been playing keyboard for such a little time. How is that going to possibly match up properly?
Yeah, it gets to a point where you only have so much time in the day, and you have to really start prioritizing. Like, do I want to release music, or do I want to get good at this totally new instrument?
With all this like crazy music that you write, who is out there right now who like inspires you, or you like hear their music and you're like, oh my gosh?
Well, I honestly listen to a lot of electronic music, and a lot of post rock and ambient stuff. I guess I don't listen to a lot of metal anymore because I feel like I don't want to burn myself out with it. But I listen to a lot of audiobooks on people that have just super inspirational people. Like I listened to an audiobook called Think and Grow Rich from Audible, and even some like salesmanship books, like Sell or Be Sold from Grant Cardone. And I don't know, I just try to find ways to be inspired. And it's not always like a musician that influences me. Sometimes it's just somebody that's been able to accomplish just crazy things.
I actually am familiar with Grant Cardone. One of my friends is a big fan of it. Is realty and investing like that, is that something that you look forward to getting into someday?
No, not at all. I just like his approach to sales in general. And I kind of try to apply that towards music because essentially, well, I mean, life in general is basically sales, like from trying to convince your buddy on where to go to eat that night or what kind of beer to get. You know what I mean? It's all like, it all basically boils down to sales. So it's kind of learning how to do that, really, I guess.
Yeah, confidence, and goes on from there. But yeah, I think I agree with you on that one totally.
Yeah, I worked at a cannabis dispensary here in Washington too. So that was when I really got into sales because I was trying to get top sales. You know what I mean? So it was like, it was a game to me because everybody wants to go buy weed, of course, but it's getting them to buy like the right product or the product that you believe in, you know? It doesn't have to be the product that gets you the most commission. It just has to be the thing that you believe in the most. And for me, that's what Buried Alive is. So I'm really trying to learn how to sell that because that's like my dream. So I believe it and I really want people to believe in it as much as I do.
When did you start playing guitar? What age?
Around 11, 12, something like that. But I always wanted to play guitar ever since I was really little, but I just didn't have one. I learned on this broken acoustic that it had tuning knobs like totally busted off. So I didn't know how to tune it, and I would just play it. And I knew that it was similar to a piano, whereas if you would press on the key, it would make a sound. Like if you press on the frets, it would make a sound. So I just kind of wrote music. And then eventually my mom got me guitar lessons.
Oh, cool. So when you're like 11 or 12, is that when you got your first like real guitar for you?
Yep. Around 11, I got a paper route, and we actually rented an electric guitar from this music store called Al's Music in St. Cloud, Minnesota. And then, like a year and a half later, I spent most of my paper route money on a guitar.
Wow, that's crazy. So did you used to wake up really early and ride your bike around and throw papers at people's front porches like on TV?
Oh yeah, I was the paper boy.
Wow, and that's in Minnesota. So was it cold ass winters and you had to get up and do that?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, how cold would it be?
As cold as it gets, man, like 10 below. You know,
Wow.
sometimes there would be 3 feet of snow and you'd have to trudge through people's yards. So it's a good life lesson, but it's definitely different, I guess.
You know what? That's half the reason you're such a hard worker now and so motivated because you started at 10 or 11 years old doing that kind of stuff. Like that kicked you into gear.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was in 4th grade at the time. I'm not even sure what age that is, but it's definitely young. And then I always kind of had summer jobs and stuff just to keep me out of trouble because my dad passed away when I was 12. So my mom was a single parent from then on, and I would get into mischief in the summer because I'd be bored. So she would, on top of having a paper route, I would work during the week. She like a job for me where she would work. But it's good. I mean, it teaches you work ethic, and definitely not afraid to get my hands dirty. That's for sure.
How old are you?
I'm 30.
Okay, so I'm 32. So we grew up in almost the exact same time then.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got your guitar 11, 12 years old. You begged your mom for Christmas or something, or how'd you get it?
Well, I think they just saw that I was always playing that really crappy acoustic, and then we got lessons, and I got a good deal on like a rental on top of the lessons, and then I had roughly $1,500 saved up from my paper route, so I spent 1,042 of it on a guitar. So I just told them that that's what I really wanted, and I had the money, so they let me get it.
Dude, okay, what kind of guitar did you get back in, what is this, 1997?
Yeah, let me see if I can look it up. It's a Fernandez. I don't know if you remember Fernandez.
Yeah, totally.
It's a Fernandez Revolver Elite, and it was a metallic red. It was so sick, and it had a sustainer in it.
I was just going to bring those up. I've never tried, but I've always wanted to get one of those pickups.
Oh, yeah. It had a Floyd Rose, and it had a sustainer, and I think it was some sort of Seymour Duncan. But, yeah, so, like, that was my first guitar. Just this beast of a thing with way too many options. I had no idea how to restring it. I just knew that I wanted a whammy bar is what I just called it. So, because I thought that was cool.
Is it because of Wayne's World?
Yep, totally.
Three single coil pickups and a whammy bar.
Yep.
that was.
Yeah, dude. I think I had this really cheesy flame strap, which actually makes perfect sense now. Now that I think about it, I still have it somewhere, but Yeah, it was funny. I was just this like little. I was a fat kid too, so I was like this little fat kid with thick glasses and his really cool guitar.
So what happened to that guitar? I get the vibe that you don't have that anymore.
I still have it. It's at my mom's house.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, the neck is super warped just because it's been through like a child that doesn't know what he's doing having it. But it's yeah, I'm never getting rid of that thing for sure.
What were the first songs and things you started to play?
The first song I was ever taught was "When I Come Around," or no, I'm sorry, "Basket Case" from Green Day. So just like power chords, and I learned a Bush song, "Machine Head," from Bush, and that's how I learned octaves. And then my mom bought me a Jimi Hendrix CD, the Jimi Hendrix Experience, and I wanted to learn that how to play like that. I was super obsessed with Jimi Hendrix from that point on, and I started like getting into kind of his abstract style a little bit, and then eventually kind of evolved into metal, Randy Rhoads, Zakk Wylde, so on.
And then how long were you taking lessons for?
That summer, I think it was like 3 months, and then the guy's mom died, and then he moved to California. So it wasn't a super long time. It was like every Saturday for a couple months.
Okay, so then what would you get, like guitar magazines and go online and get tabs and stuff to learn other songs?
I didn't have internet until I was like 21. So I just had Guitar World, and that was like my Bible back then. I would look up, try to learn anything and everything on it. And if I was ever, my mom had internet at her job, so whenever she went to lunch or something, I would try to use her computer and go and try to get tabs of anything and print them.
Wow, dude, that's crazy. You didn't have internet till you're 21?
Yeah, dude, it was like no answering machine, no internet. We kind of lived out in the country. Maple Lake, Minnesota. There was like I think a population of about 1,000 people, and it was a tiny school. Like we graduated with maybe 70 people, so it's just like different world out there.
Yeah, and then you moved to Washington, and by that time, answer machines are already gone. Nobody uses them, so you just never got an answer machine.
Yeah, pretty much. And what's funny is my phone's always full, so my voicemail on my phone it's like useless. You can't leave a message because it's like totally full of probably spam. I don't know. I never answer my phone. But yeah, so internet, if I had internet back then, I mean, who knows, Like there's so much information, like how to record and everything else. But it's fine. It can
you
be
probably didn't. Yeah, you probably didn't need that mixed in. I mean, where you're landing right now is exactly where you probably should be. So,
yeah, I think you're right. I think everything kind of falls into place, and you just have to keep moving forward. Like bad shit happens, good shit happens, and sometimes bad shit happens and it creates good results. So, I mean, it's hard to even say if it was really bad in the first place.
when did you start giving lessons to people? Do you do online lessons?
Yeah, I give online lessons. I've been teaching since maybe 2014, 2015. I've taught in-person lessons before that, but online is just so convenient, since I work from home anyways, that it's just, I don't know, it's nice. It's not, I don't do it all the time. I try to minimize it so it's like balanced every day, but yeah, it's fun. There's some really motivated people, and then there's other people that you're like, I don't know why you want lessons, but cool, But that's just how it's always going to be.
What percentage of your students ask you to teach them and just want to learn all your style and how a bunch of your songs?
I don't know, maybe 10% of them, 20% of them. A lot of them, the majority of people want to get better at alternate picking and sweeping. That's what I've learned with, if I would advertise lessons, most people, that's like the two main things people want to learn.
They just want to shred.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They want to shred. And I always recommend, a couple things. Have you heard of the stylus pick?
No.
No, it's a training pick. I think if you just Google it, stylus pick, it has this little stylus tip, and it controls the depth of your picking. So it makes you have like really smooth alternate picking, and you don't, it forces you to not overuse your wrist and stuff. And so I always recommend that for people. It's like you can get 3 of them for $5. So it's not necessarily the biggest investment ever. And just using that with a metronome or a speed trainer on Guitar Pro. Guitar Pro is a fantastic practice tool as well, because it's got speed trainer. So like that, and then I teach them several runs off the bat, and I try to give them as much stuff as they can so they don't have to keep spending money every week. But yeah, it definitely stays busy. It's as busy as I can handle right now.
What's your practice routine like?
Well, I would say be anywhere between 6 and 12 hours a day, sometimes more, on Saturdays and Sundays. If we don't have plans, I'll basically play from when I get up, and till maybe 2 a.m, something like that. Sometimes my wrists hurt. Like we're into fitness too. So we do arm day, and, sometimes I hit it too hard on arm day and I got to kind of chill, or else I'm just going to not really get anywhere because my arms are kind of burnt out. So I gauge it that way, but generally I practice as much as I can, and I spend a lot of time writing too, and promoting. But yeah, it's basically, I'm just practicing what I'm writing. So I'm always just working on the task at hand. And if I want to get better at legato, or maybe tapping with my pinky, I'll write a riff that involves that. And that way I can practice while I'm actually working towards something at the same time.
Oh, that's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, I try to be as efficient as possible because since this is my full-time gig, it's really important that I have consistency, I feel.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. If this was, you don't have a regular job anymore? It's all music now?
Yep, it's been music now for about 2 years.
Was it scary when you first switched over and you left your last job?
Yep. There's always a fear that comes with that kind of step, but I've gotten better at quitting jobs over the years. So it wasn't too big of a deal. Plus, the place I worked at was a dispensary, and they got robbed at gunpoint. So it was pretty easy for me to just not want to work there.
Yeah, I worked at a gas station when I was 16, and I was so scared that I was going to get robbed.
Oh yeah, gas stations and dispensaries around here, since it's cash only and stuff, pretty. Plus, you can't have guns on you or anything when you work there. I wanted to have a gun on me, or at least some weapons around to protect myself, but they didn't. You can't legally do that, so you're literally sitting ducks.
Damn, that's scary.
Yeah.
They don't have armed security there?
Well, some places do. What usually happens is you get robbed and they take everything, and then you have armed security there for a week, and nobody robs the place, so that you get rid of armed security and then you get robbed again. So that's just kind of at least Washington State, that's what happens. But some places I don't know. It depends on where you go, really. But it costs a lot of money. I bet it would probably around $200 a day to have an armed guard, a good one.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. You probably have to, I don't know, do you have to have a permit for some dude to be standing there with the gun? I guess so, right?
I think so. Yeah.
So when you play, you don't play covers anymore, huh?
Covers?
Yeah, no cover songs?
Oh, nope, not at this time.
Off the top of your head, when you sit down and jam, how many, pun not intended, by the way, I always say jam, and then I was writing in my notes, and I was I wrote jam so many times in my Charles Caswell notes, but
that's funny. That's cool.
Is there any techniques or anything that you're looking to add to your style, that you're still oh, that is something I haven't done yet?
Yeah, I've been getting more into hybrid picking, and I want to just get into different styles of music in general. I would love to do an album with just a Strat and clean and stuff, and just try to be creative that way. like take away some of the, like the effects, like a whammy pedal and a pitch pedal, and just try to make music with just a clean channel and a Strat. But as far as techniques go, I'm always trying to get better at alternate picking. That's my weakness. I think that's a lot of other guitarists' weaknesses too. Tapping, I'm always trying to get my pinky stronger and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's just that alternate picking is still killing me. It's been killing me for years.
Have you ever eaten a dragon fruit before?
I think so.
I just had one like the last week for the first time, and I used to play Fruit Ninja all the time, so I would see them on there, and I never had one, and I finally got one, and it was actually really good.
Oh yeah, it's like a white fruit, right? It kind of is. Let me see. I'll have to look.
The outside is like pink and green with like these like spikes, almost like a weird version of a pineapple, and then the inside is white with black dots.
Okay, yeah. I get those at we get cut ones at Safeway. There's we eat a lot of fruit. I don't know if it's because of Buried Alive or what, but yeah, dragon fruits, they look really sick. I had no idea that they look like that on the outside.
Yeah, they're crazy
really
looking. Cool. Yeah, I just saw them for the first time, and I was like, oh, I want to try one. And then coincidentally, I'm talking to you this week, too.
That's funny. It was meant to be. We eat a lot of fruit because it's tax deductible because of Buried Alive. So.
No way.
That would be funny.
It might actually be, dude. Look into it. If you take pictures of them and put them on your Instagram, it is.
Oh, definitely. It's inspirational fruit is what it is.
You mentioned that you like Primus. What's your favorite Primus album?
Sailing Seas of Cheese, probably.
That's a good one.
But I mean, I like My Name Is Mud, Winona's Big Brown Beaver, and I don't know. It's just that was back in the day where I used to smoke a lot of weed, so I just listened to that a lot. But I was pretty young too. I was like 13 or 14. I probably shouldn't have been. But yeah, Primus was really sick, and it got me into bass too. So I played a little bit of bass, and their drummer got me into drums too. So I had a drum set for a while, but yeah, I just stuck with guitar mainly.
It's paying off.
How about you? What's your favorite Primus album?
You know what? To be honest, I think it's Frizzle Fry because it's crazy. It's the first one I got, so I love it. But then, just it's I don't know. There's something about it. It's kind of heavy, but it's also funky. And then I love Sailing the Seas of Cheese. And then I've started to listen to some of the others. There's a couple that are a little too weird for me, but I love the waltz of the riding the coattails of a dead man. I love that song.
Oh, I'll have to check that one out. It's been so long since I've listened to Primus. I saw them once at the Orpheum Theater when I was a kid. This like decent theater in Minnesota. It was crazy.
Yeah, I would like to see them one day, but I think they're on tour right now with Slayer.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Slayer's like final tour.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy. They've toured a long time. I don't honestly know if my body could withstand another Slayer show, but I would definitely go see Primus if they came here to Portland or something.
What's the best concert you've seen?
Roger Waters.
Oh,
that was back in 2008 or so. It was pretty much life-changing.
Have you ever seen David Gilmour live?
No, I haven't yet. That would be cool too.
Both of those guys are definitely on my bucket list. And would you ever do like a tour, a Buried Alive tour, or have you ever done one and like played the backing tracks with your wife by your side?
We would like to do that someday, but I feel like we need to keep growing a fan base to support that at this point. Because I've toured before. Even when there's hype, and it's still kind of like just one bad move could financially devastate you. And since, we're married, we're, not kids anymore, we just want to be really careful and try to make sure that we're ready for when it happens. But yes, definitely want to do that someday.
All right. Well, I don't know if there's anything else you want to cover, but I'm guessing you got a new album coming out pretty soon because Fruit Punch came out recently, and that's a single.
Yeah, yes, Fruit Punch came out, and before that, Legendary came out. Right now, I'm doing a lot of writing and a lot of rehearsing and teaching. So I'm not in a super big rush because I'm not sure when this new signature guitar is going to be ready. I kind of like to have that help launch whatever I do, but yeah, there's always something in the works.
Man, it's awesome seeing your videos on Instagram and following along on Spotify, and you're an inspirational dude, and your music's awesome. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it, Charles.
Oh yeah, thank you. I really appreciate the kind words and the support.
Where should people check you out? There's Instagram. Do you have any other links that you like people to look at?
I would just recommend Spotify. I just type it up in Spotify and check out like the main songs, like Hump, I believe, Salida, Fool's Gold. Seems like the easiest way, because that's what the majority of people do when I mention Buried Alive. Like if I'm in an Uber, if we're on the way somewhere, like that's usually their go-to.
Dude, well, like I said, thanks so much. It's been a lot of fun for me, and can't wait to see what you do next.
Heck yeah, dude. Thanks a lot.
Right.
Have a great night.
Yeah. You too, Charles. See ya.
Bye.
All right, guys. Well, there you have it. Charles Caswell, man. That was a lot of fun to talk about. I haven't really talked to that many people who write really crazy, insane prog music. So talking with little tech music there was cool. Check him out. Like you said, Spotify, Instagram, at Charles Caswell, at Berried Alive Official on Instagram. And you can follow me at GuitarGuts, of course. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button. We do these every single week. Season 2 is going strong right now. Also, please check out our friends over at Iron Age Accessories. These guys are the best. They make these awesome picks. These are my custom picks. And they say GuitarGuts. They got my GG skull logo on them. I love the way they play. They look fucking awesome. So shout out to Alex and keep killing it over there. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next week.
Boys and girls of every age, wouldn't you like to see something strange? Come with us and you will see. This is our town of Halloween. This is Halloween, this is Halloween. Pumpkins scream in the dead of night. This is Halloween, everybody make a scene. Trick or treat till the neighbor's gonna die of fright. It's our town, everybody scream. This is town of Halloween. I am the one hiding under your bed. Teeth brown sharp and eyes glowing red. I am the one hiding under your stairs. Fingers like snakes and spiders in my hair. This is Halloween, this is Halloween. Halloween, 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 Halloween. In this town we call home, everybody hands to the pumpkin song. I am the clown with the deadly face. Here in the flesh, covered in the trees. I am the who when you call who's there. I am the wind blowing through your hair. This is Halloween, this is Halloween. Pumpkin scream in the dead of night. This is Halloween, everybody make a scene. Trick or treat till the neighbor's gonna die of fright. It's our town, everybody scream. In this town of Halloween.
Tender lumplings everywhere. Life's no fun without a good scare.
That's our dog.
But we're not
In our town of Halloween. This is Halloween, everybody scream. Won't you please make way for a very special guy? Our man Jack is king of the pumpkin patch. Everyone hail to the pumpkin king. Ah!